A client I'd previously done some branding work for approached me to art direct new product images as well as e-commerce images for their existing product lineup. It was working to a strict budget, and we had a few conversations back and forth. We agreed after a while that to save on the budget, it made sense if I was also the photographer for the shoot as well. My name is Gus. I'm an experienced hands-on creative director, designer, photographer, and filmmaker. I have 20 plus years of experience in my field, and I have a passion for all the things creative. In this video, I want to share with you my workflow process, more like an overview, and show you how I came about creating these lifestyle and e-commerce product images. A lot of my photography work sits in the sports and active lifestyle genre. I do have some sports product imagery work, but I don't have that much e-commerce work in my portfolio. But because of the good relationship I had with this client, helping to create their brand identity and the launch of their wellbeing center, they pretty much trusted me to take on this brief. Now, personally, of all the genres in photography, I find product photography to be one of the most daunting. There's so many factors you've got to take into consideration, as well as products themselves. You often have to handle props such as glass and fabrics and metals and plastics, and each of these react differently to light. You have to deal with unwanted reflections and shadows, and then use diffusers and softboxes, flags and bounce cards, all just to get that perfect image. And if you have multiple products to shoot, then you have to think about consistency and continuity. And if you have to shoot them all together, then you have to find a way to create that balance. Even simple staging has to be really considered. You have to look at your composition, what props you use, what light you use, what backdrops you use. All these things are there to enhance the product but not overpower. So it's finding those balance and making sure everything is perfect to capture the right image. Although the budget for this project wasn't huge, it wasn't small enough to want to take this on all by myself, and I knew I would need some assistance. So I hired a production company. They got me some assistance with some producers. We got on board a product stylist. That was really the best way for me to concentrate on the product themselves and not have to worry about all the other logistics. During the call, we had an agreement in terms of the kind of images we were going to shoot, a rough estimation of how many days we were going to look to shoot in, and then also the kind of studio that would be great. My first goal was to look at existing brands in this space, and my port of call really is Pinterest. I find Pinterest to be, one, it's free, and two, it has a lot of ranges. You get illustrations, you get product photography, sports photography, all in one place. But I would caveat that you can easily get distracted with the amount of images. So what I find a great thing to do is simplify what my objectives are on a piece of paper or on a pen or my iPad, and I'll sort of try and stick to those principles to make sure that it can give me the steer that I need. Once I felt I had enough images, I set up a presentation deck in Google Slides, and I wanted to make sure I categorized the e-commerce images and also the lifestyle images and any other ideas that I came across into separate sections. I try to make sure that I don't overwhelm clients or production teams with too many images. You know, you can often bombard people with too many ideas, and I wanted to make sure that any images I had in my deck, these were achievable images in terms of recreation from myself, and also always factoring the time and the budget. Once everyone was happy with the presentation deck, we then had a pre-production meeting. This meeting really was to discuss the products, backgrounds, the coloramas that we would use, It was also to discuss the props that we would feature within the lifestyle images. We had a conversation about having a hand model and whose hand were we going to use if we needed to hire someone, or perhaps there was someone internally we could get to reduce the cost. After this, I got an email back from the production company, which included a call sheet and a pre-production sheet, which had just a recap of everything we had discussed, but also times, locations, contact numbers for everyone, travel information and how we can get there. I always find prepping for photography shoots a little nerve-wracking. Did I pack too much, or did I not pack enough? I always lean on the side of overpacking because I'd rather have more than I actually need on the day of a shoot. And the way I get around this is with an equipment checklist, and on the top of it would be my camera, and I'll have my lights, my lenses, and all my other accessories that I need to make sure that I don't forget anything on the day. The first and foremost on my checklist is my camera, my Sony a7R III. I've had it since launch now, which is about 7 years, so it's quite long in the tooth. It's seen a lot, it's been through the wars a bit, but it's tried and tested, and to this day I have no complaints. And I would love to upgrade in the future, but at the moment cameras are so expensive. Ideally, I would recommend you take a backup camera in case you have any on-set incidents that will require you to swap the camera out. I would have been able to go to a rental house to get a second unit, but those can be quite expensive. And you do have platforms like Fat Llama, which offer camera gear equipment rental services as well. Things did turn out well, but I would definitely recommend getting a second unit. I don't have a wide range of lens selections, but I use my trusted 24-70 2.8 GM and also my 70-200 telephoto focal length lens. That particular lens I've had for years. I use it a lot for sports and active lifestyle shoots. I usually follow up my lenses with a lens cleaning kit, which consists of lens pens. I have a rocket blower, which I use to clean the dust off the sensor and off lenses themselves. I'll also pack other accessories like grey cards and color checker just to ensure color accuracy. I'll also include my laptop and charger. I'll use my iPad as a second monitor in case I don't have access to a monitor on location. And then I move on to my lighting equipment, which consists of diffusers, softboxes, flags, reflectors, C-stands and other light stands that I'm able to carry. Around the time I started to take my photography work more seriously, there weren't a lot of mono lights that you could take on location that didn't need mains power. Back then it was a more expensive investment than I would say buying into a camera brand. A lot of my active lifestyle shoot took place outdoors and on location, and I wanted to make sure I had a lighting kit that would suit me and the way I traveled. And Profoto was one of those brands. I invested in the B1 on location kit. It was a very expensive investment, but I saw it as something that would pay itself back tenfold, and which it did. For me, elevated my photography work to the next level, which I was hoping to achieve. Ergonomics, the look and feel, the battery and the intuitiveness of the user interface. I immediately knew how to make this work really well for me, and to this day I still use the same setup. My next step is setting up my image capture workflow. For the last 6 years, I've been using Capture One for my photography work. For a new shoot, I will create a session and give it the date and the name of the project. In this particular case, I also needed to create a series of folders, capture folders, which I assigned to each individual product, whether it was for e-commerce or for the lifestyle. I would always encourage beginners to get into the practice of folder structure and organization. And if you can do it a day before a shoot, it really does fill you with confidence because you know everything's really ready and good to go. On the day of the shoot, things have moved really quickly. With the help of the stylists and the producers, we were able to set up the tables and start aligning products the way I wanted them to work. To my camera right, I had my softbox, and to the left of the product was always either a bounce reflecting card or some sort of diffuser to soften the shadows of any of the products. For the lifestyle images, we had a series of props, tables, backdrops that we would composite to make sure we had everything really kind of enhancing the look of each and individual product. Capture One has this live view mode which enables you to see what your camera is seeing, and also it allows you the ability to put an existing image over the live view presentation. So I found this really useful, especially when trying to align and position products in place. I didn't have to mark on the coloramas where I wanted the next product to go. It made my setup really, really easy, and it made me more efficient. I wound up sticking with the 24-70. I found that the telephoto was giving me too much of a distance between myself and the objects, so I would often have to step forward, and what I preferred to do was almost reach around my camera to grab the product and adjust it, and then at the same time looking back into the viewfinder or on the my monitor. The lifestyle setups are very, very simple in terms of backdrop and tabletop, and which the products would sit on. And we had a few other props, books, fabrics, some plants, and all of these really kind of helped to enhance the overall look. All of this meant that the shoot went really, really well. The client was very, very extremely happy with what we were able to capture. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough behind the scenes to really show on this, and I think it's something I will take on board going forward. After the shoot, it's all in my hands, and then I will go through the suite of images and select the best ones for editing. At this point, it's a personal preference. What I like to do is I will color correct in Capture One and then do some color grading. Then I'll take it into Photoshop and remove all the imperfections, the blemishes, the water spots, any dust that I can see, anything that is distracting to the eye. And then I will bring it back into Capture One and export it out for a first review with the client. I adjust for those amends, and then I do any final refinements, and that could be anything like, sharpening, maybe adding some grain if I feel like it needs some texture, or maybe just keeping it really, really clean and grain-free, especially for the e-commerce images. And then I send that back to client, and normally you get a thumbs up. And it meant that I could then go away and apply my workflow process to the rest of the images, which was 40 odd. Each image took about 30 to an hour to edit, color grade, and get right. And here are the final results. A series of lifestyle and beautiful product images. The brief has been answered and the client is happy. And that is an overview of my workflow process for this product shoot. Now, I know every photographer has their own approach and how they do things. This was my experience on this shoot. If you have any questions that you wanted to ask me regarding any aspect of this video, please do leave a comment below and I'll do my best to answer them. And just like to say thank you, and I will see you in the next one.